Hi, Angel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
Doing good. So how's your week been? Has there been anything happening recently in your week, that you've noticed?
I am just really stressed with school right now. I have been having several panic attacks a week. I just feel so overwhelmed. I don't know how to handle these stressors. I'm taking it home at the end of the day. I'm balancing work and school and, being a family. It's really hard right now.
Wow, yeah, that sounds really hard. And having the panic attacks accompanied by those feelings, I'm sure, are not very fun. Um, and with what you're saying, I do feel like there's a model in therapy that would help a lot with this kind of anxiety that you're having around school. Um, and I do want to talk more about that too. And I was wondering if I could just show you what the CBT framework is and explain that to you. And if you're okay with it, we can use it and we can kind of go back to the problem you were talking about and framing it through the CBT model.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, perfect. Okay. Um, so basically, our thoughts, our feelings, they're all interconnected. So one example is like if you're having an upcoming test and you think, I'm going to fail, because of this thought, you might start to worry. And when you're worried, you might feel sick just thinking about the test. And it's so uncomfortable, you might decide you don't want to study for it. So, for example, the thought was, I'm going to fail. And this led to a feeling of worry. And this worriness led to the action of not studying at all for the test. So basically, thoughts are words that run through your mind. They're things you tell yourself about what's going on around you. These are often automatic thoughts that you're having to situations. Um, and they also go along with feelings too. And I always like to show the feelings wheel too, because this can help organize complex emotions so that you can more easily identify and label your emotions. So I always like to show this too when talking about CBT. Um, and going along with that, we have actions that are often a consequence of our thoughts and our feelings, such as in this example, it was not studying for the test. And so I was hoping that today we could kind of run through an exercise with your situation. And I kind of want to show you this example of the exercise first. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Okay. And did you have any questions about CBT so far?
No, I think it makes sense so far.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And stop me anytime if something sounds confusing or you want me to kind of go back and like further explain something too.
Okay.
Okay. So basically in this situation, for example, it is my friend Emma hasn't spoken to me as much as usual over the past week. So the automatic thought is Emma hasn't talked to me much this week. She must be mad at me. And the feeling this person is having is I felt sad and hurt after having this automatic thought. And the behavior, because I was upset, I ignored Emma and avoided her at school. So does that kind of make sense to you how your thoughts can lead to feelings and then those can lead to actions, sometimes unwanted actions?
Yeah, and I kind of connect with that with the actions. It's not like I think I intentionally do it, but I think just because I am so stressed and I am so anxious right now. Um, I am acting differently or kind of looking at things differently than I normally would.
Yeah, definitely. And that's completely normal too when we're having these automatic thoughts. They can lead to these behaviors that can kind of be unwanted from these unwanted thoughts. Um, and so just because you have a thought, it doesn't mean it's true. Oftentimes it's good to question these thoughts that you're having. Is it real? Is it valid? What supports are there for this thought? What would other people say about this thought? Would they think that this is a right thought, or would they think that this thought doesn't make sense? Um, and so basically, if we can come up with alternative thoughts to our automatic thoughts, then we can kind of come up with new feelings and new actions. So it's kind of like a ripple effect. So if you change your thought, that can change your feeling and then change your behavior. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of worried that I don't know if my feelings will kind of ever go away or if I'm just going to be stuck like this forever.
That's completely valid. It can be hard when we're feeling those emotions. It can be hard knowing, is this going to pass? When is this going to pass? How long am I going to feel this emotion for? Um, and oftentimes we have automatic thoughts that we're not conscious of. And so we might just be feeling these thoughts all the time, or feeling these emotions all the time because we're having these conscious or unconscious thoughts that we're not aware of. And that can kind of lead into those feelings. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And I think like through this model, we can kind of explore like your emotions more, and whether or not we feel like those can change through automatic thoughts.
Okay.
Perfect. Um, so this is kind of just like another example. Um, so the first one is Emma might be upset with me, but maybe not. I don't know. The new feeling is concern that Emma might be upset, but not as sad as I was. The new action is ask Emma if she's mad at me or if she has another problem. And I'll just go through one more too. Maybe Emma is upset about something unrelated to me. And this can kind of bring up the feeling of worried about how Emma is feeling, but not necessarily sad anymore. And finally, that leads to the action ask Emma what's going on and if she needs help. So I kind of want to go down and do the situation or use your situation for this diagram, if that would be okay.
Okay.
So I know you told me a little bit about it at the beginning. You said that, you're really stressed out in school, the work-life balance has been hard. Um, is there anything else that you would say is like really triggering like these unwanted feelings from school?
I just took a test, a practice test for my licensing exam, and I did not do well on it.
Okay.
And so I really just feel like a failure and that I'm not ever going to get my license because I can't pass these practice exams.
Yeah. And that is completely normal to think at first. When we fail something, we might automatically have thoughts like that. Um, and when we have automatic thoughts like that, it can be really hard and have us feeling ways that we don't want to feel. And those could also lead to unwanted behaviors as well. So, what would you say your first thought was after you took the test or the practice test and you didn't do well on it?
That I am never going to get my license.
Okay. And what did you feel right after you had that thought of, I'm never going to get my license?
So my friend actually did really well on it. So I would say there was a lot of insecurity because she did do so well and I didn't.
Yeah.
Um, and probably some jealousy too.
Okay. Now, what behaviors have you taken kind of since this happened? Have you had any behaviors that you can kind of explain that have happened after not doing so well on this practice exam?
I've been ignoring my friend who did well on it,
Okay.
or I don't really want to talk to her because she did do well. And so I don't really want to talk to her right now.
Okay. Yeah. And that can kind of be normal after having that thought you were having, seeing somebody else do a little bit better on it can kind of bring out those feelings. And then you may not want to talk to your friend because of it. Um, so I'm kind of wondering if we could kind of think of alternative thoughts so we can kind of question this initial thought of I am never going to get my license. And I'll go ahead and write that up here. Okay. So what could you say like is something that would make you question this thought? Like what is a reason you would think that, maybe um you could get your license? Is there any beliefs towards that?
Um, I've done really well in all my coursework.
Okay. Um, and what feeling do you have knowing, I've done well in my coursework?
I always feel really like proud of myself just because I'm the first one in my family to go to grad school.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That's a huge accomplishment. I heard it's like less than 1% of the population in the US like ends up going to grad school. So that's a huge accomplishment. Um, and now that you have done well in your coursework and this does make you feel proud, do you think this could lead to a different action?
I guess I could probably study a little bit more, for the test.
Okay.
Um, I think that would probably be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think that could be helpful. Um, so basically after doing this, we can kind of go ahead and do one more. Let's see. And that can kind of help too. Is there any other thing that you can think of that would kind of go against this idea of I'm never going to get my license?
That was only a practice test.
Okay. And what feeling kind of comes out when you think that was only a practice test?
I would say a little bit of relief.
Okay. Um, and now is there any new action that you can think of after feeling the thought that was only a practice test and now the feeling of relief? Is there any action you can think of after that?
Hmm. I think man, that's kind of a hard one.
Yeah.
Because I do feel relief, but how does that kind of change my behavior now?
Yeah.
Um, I guess I could ask my friend for help for the next one.
Yeah, and that sounds like a good idea too, because you said that your friend did a little bit better on it too. And maybe that could kind of help too, and like talking with your friend as well, kind of sharing your thoughts about the situation with the test. Because I know you kind of said that you've been avoiding your friend for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be hard too, not being able to talk to a good friend.
Yeah, because she's probably the person I would talk to about this, but because she did so well, I don't want to talk to her about it.
Yeah,
Because I have my own jealousy with it. So
definitely.
that's pretty hard.
Mhm. But I'm glad in today's session we could kind of go over this automatic thought that you were having of I'm not going to get my license and kind of seeing if this thought is valid, if it's a true thought. So what are your kind of thoughts about today's session?
I feel a lot better than when I came in. I think when you're in that state of mind, it's really hard to see the argument against it.
Yeah.
Because once you notice one negative thing, you kind of just keep focusing on the negative. Whereas now that I've identified kind of an argument against that. I feel a little less stressed about getting my license. I know that I have time to keep studying, and I feel overall a lot less stressed about that.
Good, good. I'm glad we could kind of help that situation out in today's session. So I kind of was wondering, what do you think of the idea of kind of keeping track of some of the automatic thoughts you were having this week?
I think that would be helpful, to kind of see if things have changed or not.
Do you happen to have flashcards?
I do. I don't have them with me right now.
Okay. Um, what do you think of the idea of writing an automatic thought that you have on the front of the flashcard and then kind of writing an alternative thought on the back? What do you think of that idea?
I think that would be really good to have a tangible object to kind of hold when I'm having those thoughts, because I feel like this probably won't be the only time I have these thoughts. So
Yeah.
it'll be good to have something to go back to.
Okay, perfect. And is there anything else that you would want to leave off on in today's session?
No, I think that's it. I really just wanted to focus on how I was feeling about the exam and just the stress about getting my license and the expectations and all that. So, um, I think that exercise really helped me reframe how I was looking at myself and the situation, and that I don't have to be jealous just because she did better, that I can kind of use that to my advantage too, and get some help in a area that I need it. So, um, I overall think that was like really beneficial for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for coming today's session. Does next time or next week at this time work well for you?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and see you then.
Okay, thank you.